You are probably like millions of other people around the world who have this company's product in your kitchen cabinet right now. The company is Quaker and the product is its oatmeal. However, what you may not realize is this company's rich history and innovation, from mergers and acquisitions to design, packaging, distribution, trademarking, manufacturing, and marketing. Quaker has established firsts around the world. In this segment of Frame, we will explore the evolution of Quaker through art. With us right now on Frame is collector Heather Wagner. Thanks so much.
Hi, good to see you,
for joining
Beth.
us, having us over. This collection is so extensive and just mind-boggling. Where did it start? How did it start? Who started it?
Well, this is my father's collection, actually. And my father passed away a year ago and left this collection to my mother and I. And well, I put it out today just so you could get a good look at everything. And as I was putting it out, I kept thinking about, my gosh, he really has a great collection. I mean, it's fantastic. And it all started with, and that's an actual Quaker puffed rice box that somebody gave to him as a gift. And he loved it and he was fascinated. And he's been a collector for many years, collecting beer cans and all kinds of breweryana and different kind of advertising things. And so this was right up his alley. And he worked for Quaker Oats for, I think, 40 years. And this was something that he really, dove into collecting.
This is really fascinating.
Yeah.
So let's work
It's real
back.
rice in here.
And there's still rice in here.
Yeah.
Now, did he design product packaging?
He was he was a packaging engineer for.
Let's talk about what most people know, which is the oatmeal.
The oatmeal.
And
this is the one most people know right here.
Yes, exactly. The Quaker man was very intentionally symbolic for their packaging. Why was that?
Well, and it's kind of interesting. In some of the early Quaker oat product, he has this little scroll that would say "pure" on it.
Right here.
Yeah,
yes.
and there's always the picture of the oats and that kind of stuff. And then it went from that just to the symbol of him, and which I believe became a registered trademark.
They were the first company to trademark a cereal brand. They really started that.
We also have the Mother's Oats, which is another Quaker brand, and then they started from. I was just talking about how I really like to look at the art, as I'm an artist. I love to see how the evolution of the art on the front of the package changes.
Yes, with
the
times.
times. Yeah, we have the woman and her little son, and what they're wearing and how that changes throughout time. Kind of goes to more modern clothing, and then it ends up looking almost like a Quaker Oats oat tube.
Like the Quaker man himself, who's graduated.
And so that's kind of interesting.
Their outfit. Look at how simple not only the packaging becomes over time, but how streamlined their wardrobe is.
Oh yeah.
This box has a cup and saucer in it. They were one of the first to include these promotional items that, like Cracker Jacks, where you buy a box of Cracker Jacks, you get a ring or whatever. Well, Quaker was one of the first, and this one was the cup and saucer with Bonnie Blue
cup and saucer. And there's all kinds of these things. There's little Quaker buckwheat ones, and here's some other kind of stuff. Here's one with the Cedar Rapids plant on it from Iowa. Yeah.
Look at that.
And then it's also kind of interesting to me that they put aluminum in there.
Oh, yes.
This one is with aluminum ware.
Which is really smart, but that ties into their marketing. I know there was some internal friction over their marketing budget, but the chief marketing officer figured out that he better learn how to speak to women who were running the household in order to get the Quaker brand into the kitchen and become part of the family staple.
Yeah, and then that also kind of leads into some of these smaller packages. These are ones that the salesman would go around from farm to farm, and
one too.
Yeah, this actually still has stuff in it.
Still has oats in it.
Yeah,
and they use these as trial size.
Yep, it's a free
tasters, free samples. Hook you into the product, which was quite ahead of its time in that day, actually.
Yeah, and a lot of times they would go to whoever the cook was. If they had any kind of help in the farm or on the residence.
Let's talk about a subject of great controversy in American culture, which is Aunt Jemima.
Some of the controversy, I believe, comes from how Aunt Jemima was portrayed as someone who was uneducated, who was, more dirty and things like that. And she changed throughout American history,
Yes, she did.
as American history changed.
Right.
So
The civil rights movement, etc. Now this was a really fun item from the standpoint of marketing and promotion, not in art as well. It's actually a puzzle. And so the key is to separate this package from the top. But you sent in 4 cents to receive this life story of Aunt Jemima. And that's one thing that Quaker is really great at, and still is today, is telling stories and using poetry and other storytelling methods in their marketing.
Right.
And reading in the book, Aunt Jemima, there's one woman, and this looks like the woman, Nancy Green, who was the Aunt Jemima for over 3 decades. And that was her job, to travel throughout the Midwest and small towns throughout the country to cook breakfast and show housewives and others how to create the best pancakes using the Aunt Jemima mix.
Right.
So these are some of the items. It's really fascinating.
Right.
And then there's a letter over here.
Aunt Jemima stationery from the Quaker Oats Company. And it's something that you would send away for when you put your little box tops together. And this was an Aunt Jemima doll. So it was a pattern for the Aunt Jemima doll, in the front and back, and you just sew it together and you got your instant Aunt Jemima doll. So anyway, he had several of these that, different dolls or different, but this was a character from Quaker Oats, so that's kind of a neat thing.
On a lighter note, moving away from Aunt Jemima, but talking about dolls,
yes,
Quaker used dolls in cartoons. Obviously, we all know who this gentleman is.
Yes, Captain Crunch.
Now,
and then we also have,
who's this?
This is Quake, and this is Quisp. And Quisp
they go
and Quake,
together?
well, I don't know. I think they might have, but he was one that you could send in and sew and make. And this is Quisp, and he's kind of a American icon to a lot of people. He sells on eBay lots of stuff. Really? He has his own cereal, Quisp cereal. He's from outer space. And then this is King Vitamin. So,
which, when we were looking through your collection, Quaker used very early on the health-oriented message in their advertising.
Oh yeah.
It's the food to fuel your brain and to make you stronger and in some respects superior without saying it.
Right.
Getting back to the messaging and the infusion of be strong and healthy, they created recipe books to reinforce their products.
Oh, sure. This was before the famous oatmeal cookies. This was gingerbread and spice cake and chocolate cake and coffee cake and picture of the Cedar Rapids plant.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But it's, the recipes at Quaker Oats, they really did evolve. Because now everyone knows the oatmeal cookies are huge. And of course, that's what's on the front of the modern recipe book. I know my kids request them, and they're great. But this was a lot of baking, a lot of rolls and breads, oatmeal bread, and it would always just kind of show what you needed, and then it would have a little picture of the Quaker Oats box there. So this was kind of a neat one, and I have several of these.
That's neat, and comparing the recipe content in this modern version and the images. There's the cranberry orange bread. And how it's changed. But what's consistent is the story of Quaker Oats and the Quaker man, which I think is pretty fascinating. So they don't let you forget the Quaker man. Okay, so those are some really fun items.
Yeah. And
that was, of course, geared towards women because they ran the household. But then they soon figured out another tactic ahead of their time again on how to continue to keep the product in the house. And so you have an example of that.
That would be the kids, because when it comes right down to it, the kids are what's going to eat the good oatmeal. And here's a product that Quaker had at one time. It was called Toy Oats. And there was a toy in every package. And so I think this is a really an interesting product, just to show that, hey, we're going to start putting toys in here instead of you know, the Bonnie blue cup and saucer, because really when it comes right down to it, we want the kids to eat it. And there's a toy in the package, and that just started the whole cereal, and you find a toy in there. And that one, I know when I was a kid, that was the coolest thing ever, is what's in the package? What toy do we get? We had all kinds of stuff from little, I remember I got a little terrarium one time. You could put, there was dirt in there. And other times you'd get like, you know, tops or games.
Right.
So this was kind of one of the beginning of that whole movement. Here are some of these Petty John's ones. I thought some of these were kind of interesting back, you know, to show the time that it was, with some of the art and Mother Goose and this kind of stuff for you get a Mother Goose book for the little guys, you know.
Oh, they're promoting literacy.
Right, right.
Which is great. You see how they really tie into, but I think they really expound upon a slice of American life and just make it huge.
And Petty John's was a huge brand for Quaker.
How does this collection make you feel?
Oh, I'm awfully proud of my dad. That's one thing that I think that one of the reasons people collect is because they're proud of that particular thing. And I know my dad was very proud to work at Quaker Oats. It was a huge part of my life growing up, and my just seeing all these things brings back a lot of memories for me, and just makes me feel like my dad is very close. So that's really a neat thing. And just, you know, when I was a little kid, and they used to be able to take us into the plant and get to see all the stuff being made, or he'd bring home boxes of generic new cereal they invented, and you guys taste this with all your friends and tell me what you think, you know. So there's a lot of memories for me.
And as far as collectibles overall, because you know sometimes, well, my grandmother, she used to collect salt and pepper shakers.
Okay.
And I think for a long time I didn't quite understand why people would collect things. But what do you think about collectibles as an art form?
Oh, absolutely.
You own this and you're an artist.
Well, yeah, and also he has another collection that we didn't really talk about at all because we're doing Quaker, but he has another whole one of this Breweriana I was telling you about. And I look back at the pre-Prohibition stuff that he had, and the artwork is unbelievable. That they did that just to promote beer or Quaker oatmeal or things like that. That just blows my mind. That how gorgeous it was. It was really, really nice.
Well, maybe one day, because you know my industry, and you've been a creative director in advertising, maybe we'll see us circle back to this really exceptional work. Something like quality over quantity, and really thought through messaging and the use of imagery. So, well, Heather, thank you for sharing your collection
for letting me
us.
share it. That's fun.
Absolutely fascinating,
Thank you.
I feel so privileged, and hopefully everybody watching the show will feel the same privilege that we feel.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Some collectors build their collections from an investment standpoint, others from a sentimental place. Well, regardless of the reason, it's only a matter of time and human nature before you begin to wonder about the value of your collection. In this segment of Frame, we are continuing our conversation about the private Quaker Oats collection, but joining me this time is local expert and graduate certified appraiser, Cheryl Marks. Thanks, Cheryl, for joining me on Frame.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Likewise, and thanks for helping us to understand the extensive collection you've seen and the value of some of the pieces in the collection. So let's talk about your expertise. What is a graduate certified appraiser?
Well, there are not many colleges that specialize in appraising, but I did go to one for 2.5 years in the Los Angeles area called the College for Appraisers, and graduated, you know, took all their courses, graduated, also became a part of the local appraising association, and took what's required, which is called USPAP, for doing appraisal reports. When you're looking to value items, you have to do a lot of digging.
Well, you know, you did some, I'm sorry to interrupt you, I know you did some digging on some pieces that we sent to you.
Yes.
So do you want to?
If we want, only because it was very interesting about these two guys.
These two, okay, we'll start with these two gentlemen.
Okay, well, both of these are Toby jugs. And they made a lot from different companies. This one was made from Woods & Son. Now, many of these companies have been around for centuries, but how you find out when it was actually made is you date it by looking at the marks, because the marks change over the years. This one was approximately in the 40s. Now there's some, the woods, start from the 1800s, but this particular one was produced by Woods and Son in England during the 1940s.
Interesting.
Now, one of the more expensive, even though they made a lot of Toby jugs and character jugs, company was Royal Dalton in England. And they started, they have hundreds of them, and some of them are very valuable still, and others have value but not as valuable.
Okay.
Now this one was interesting because this one was a limited edition. And it was made, yes, for the Quaker Oats I believe the 85th anniversary of Quaker Oats in 1984. So this one, it was interesting and easier to get information on because there was a lot of specifics.
Yes.
For instance, this one, there was a limited edition of 3,500 pieces. This is 2862 out of 3,500. So this one, I looked up, and when you're pricing things, there's all different levels of pricing. There can be the book value, and then there can be what we call real value. Now, the wish value of this was anywhere from $350 to $500.
Wow.
The actual checking on eBay sales and a few other places was around $250. So it can be, the real selling price can be quite different, much lower than the research price, yes.
Now, this one you researched, and the value of this
it's
particular...
only about $45. This is not a limited edition. The company is actually, old, but so is Royal Dalton.
A few more. Ooh, will you let me know which one of these you researched, and then we'll hold them up to the camera?
Okay. Well, I also found some interesting information, because when you're doing research, you are studying history.
Yes.
So I had to look up somewhat of the history of Aunt Jemima, when it started, how it started, what the name of the company was prior to it being bought by Quaker Oats. Originally, and it's interesting because this one on the back has the original company.
Turn it around.
The original company with Aunt Jemima was R.T. Davis Milling Company, and that was the original one. And this one's special because that's what it is. It has that. So this is one from the original company before it was owned by Quaker Oats.
Oh, understand.
So Quaker Oats bought the mill in 1926, and they started this in 1890, the original Aunt Jemima. And it was very interesting. They hired originally a former slave who was the spokesman, and her name was Nancy Green.
Yes.
And she became the original spokesman for them in 1890, which I thought was very interesting. And this, I believe, is definitely a caricature of her. There were different ones, and throughout the time, they also changed the look to modernize a little bit. Now
we
this
have a few
one,
different
yes.
looks here.
Now in 1933, now again they bought A.J. Mills in 1926. In 1933, Quaker Oats hired Ann Robinson for the Chicago World's Fair, and that's when they had their they introduced it all, and it became registered in 1937 with her face. So this is, I believe, this is the earlier one because I dated this through research, and it said this was from 1895. So this was prior to that, That probably was Nancy Green still at that point.
Looks pretty similar.
Yes, it looks pretty similar to this. Now this one, I'm assuming, even though I could not find the exact, but I'm assuming that this was the next one.
So I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. So beginning the process of researching this, you would read through the pamphlet and...
I try to find out any information that's printed on it. and I try to, the distributor is obviously Quaker Oats. You're going to look at the graphics to try to date approximately when they were using this graphic on it, and look at, what it is. Now, these were produced, so these are not as scarce as something that wasn't produced to be, go along with something, but it's still relatively scarce. Just estimating,
Yes.
I would say the group could be, if this is totally an estimate, around $120.
Okay.
This one was approximately 45. This one was about 45, and this one I'm just judging in a similar range because I wasn't able to specifically find that
one.
I have to look at everything, and I have to look through, with a loop to see the printing, if it's a more modern print, if it's the original, printings.
Right.
There's a lot of clues that you look for.
Okay.
And, one of the main clues is if you look on eBay and the item is not completed, that's somebody's wish list of the price that they want. That doesn't mean that's the actual price that it got. And many times these things don't sell. They can go through, a week cycle or 2 weeks or a month, and they're still not selling. So the only way that you can really get any valid information is to see what they actually got upon completion.
Are there any other sources that you use that you're
There
able
are
to
lots
share
of
with
other
us?
sources. I Google everything to see if anything else comes up. When I'm doing my own appraisals, there are times I have to pay for specific sites, but they're not free, as an appraiser that will give you more specific information. Because a lot of times general information will not give you pricing. It'll give you history, it'll give you, pictures, graphics, this and that, but it won't give you the pricing.
Heard the story,
Yes,
but not the
you have to
entire
pay
story.
for it.
Okay, well, what they say. Well, thank you so
You are
much for
very
this.
welcome.
Thanks for tuning into this segment of Frame. There's a reason why those extra items not in your shopping list end up in your cart. As we learned in the Quaker Oats segment, consumer product companies understand the power of great design in driving the bottom line. In this segment of Frame, we see the process involved in creating appealing design that compels us to buy products we want and need, and those that just exist. Joining me now is professional graphic design artist Christiane Cunha. Thank you so much for joining me on Frame.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. We're in your studio and you have an assortment of really great packaging and other design items for us. So let's get down to what makes great design.
Well, first I'm going to talk about graphic design. A good graphic design will be something with a very clear message where the people looking to the design are going to understand very well what is about the message about the graphic design. It can be a piece of art or a poster for an event, or maybe a logotype, or maybe a magazine ad. It has to be very easily understandable.
Okay, so not a lot of clutter and
No.
Sometimes people put just everything in, an ad, for instance, or on a poster, and that's not clean design.
No, especially because in these days, everybody is so overwhelmed with advertisements and with information, so we don't have time anymore. So it has to be in 8 seconds. You have to get the message in 8 seconds. More than that, it's going to be a waste of time and money because it's not going to be efficient.
And capture attention and
Yes.
capture heart share.
Yes. Design of products, I would say they have to be innovative because we already have so many things in the market. So they have to be innovative and also turn our life easier in somehow, or saving us time, or making our life adding practicity, or
Fun even, huh?
Yes, even fun.
Okay.
So there's always something else, always a plus, not just like a phone that makes calls, but also a phone that has internet access, that is easy to carry.
A lot of function
Yes.
along with style
Yes.
seems to make great design from what I
Yes.
understanding you.
Yes.
Now, I love your perspective because you have a global perspective. You're originally from Brazil. Do you want to talk about some of the products you've designed
Yes.
during your career?
Yes.
Which one do you want to start with? There's so many
So
fun items
here
here.
are some recent works. For example, this, I am a mom of 2 kids. This water bottle will come with 2 different kinds of lid, a top. So one will be for toddlers, which is a sippy cup, and another one will be like a bottle. So moms could just buy these water bottles, which will be completely safe for kids, and they could just drop in the formula or the juice or something else, and it will transform our life as moms.
This seems like it's ergonomically correct.
Yes.
And really easy for a child to
Yes.
hold as well as an adult.
Yes.
Very clever. Oh,
Yes.
cool.
This is another piece. This will be a fruit rack. So there's a quote that says, "An apple a day keeps your doctor away." So this is the concept behind this piece. It fits seven apples. It's about the apples you're gonna eat in a week, and it's very clean. It's very simple. This is what about we are talking, like, you know, like being functional, being cool, but also something that is gonna add something for your life.
This is really, really fun. It's quite aesthetically appealing without the product, and just adding the product in makes it even better. You can take out this section, right? 'Cause
Yes.
this is a separately designed item that goes inside.
Yes.
This is really a neat piece.
Yes, this I was trying to create a calendar. All my products always have something related to consumption. So I was trying to create a calendar, but that will be somehow connected to a product, a consumption of a product. So I decided to do this for a coffee brand. These are coffee cups for coffee machines that use these kinds of coffee cups. They are individual portions. The idea here is that the coffee cups will be coming with this numbers, and you can just place them in this calendar, and every day when you wake up and get your cup of coffee, you'll see what is in that day, your appointments, your schedule, and then you can, after that, you can drink your coffee. And another thing, this kind of coffee, they have very good coffee. However, it's kind of hard to keep this organized. So usually the people that like to use this kind of coffee, they just throw them all inside of a drawer or something. So this is also something nice to organize, keep organizing and bring function for the customer. And it's also a nice piece that will be an addition, like an accent for a kitchen, for example.
Right. I love the way you think through projects and make them very applicable to day-to-day life. I could be here all day with you, learning, creating. What else can we help the audience to understand about design? As that gentleman said, design is everything, everything.
The basics of a good design and the good relationship between form and function. That the combination of them both, it will make a good design. Form, which will be aesthetics, and function, it will be the efficiency.
And for a company, really put them at the head of the pack, so to speak, in their categories. Because some companies just don't get it. They think that, oh, design is frivolous, or certain communication outlets are not really important. Maybe we don't hire a professional, we hire, an intern, so to speak.
Yes.
And your response to that is?
Which is crazy because, as we can see, now the brands of the companies are the most valuable thing the company owns. For example, Coke is all about the branding they have, and how about if they didn't have a good packaging or a good logo, So fortunately, they have a great packaging, a great logo, but how about not? So you have to make good choices in the beginning, because those choices are gonna last forever, since the name, the logo, the approach in the entire visual identity, the packaging, you have to make right choices. Other than that, in some point, you're gonna have to change.
And then I'm looking at Apple and how their earnings, they have quite a cash surplus. Let's just say that nobody would blink at that or push that away from their balance sheets.
Yes.
So design involves skill, talent, it takes time, but it's very important to set yourself apart in the marketplace.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Oh, it's been such a pleasure and such a treat to see some of your work. I know we've just touched the surface, but thank you for inspiring me, and hopefully you all are inspired too. Remember, great design is everything. Thanks for tuning into this segment of Frame.
Frame is sponsored by Allegra, Cedar Rapids CrossFit, Click Marketing Solutions, Style Folio Jewelry,